Welcome ladies and gentlemen, today I want to talk about the .doc build for Horns of the Reach. Now I have released gameplay footage of this build already. I will put a link into the description and you can find the written guide on my website. I will also put the link in the description. Now I want you to understand, this is a build video and there is a lot of good possibilities. I will show you my setup and I will try to explain the idea behind the build. You can swap around gear, you can swap around skills. You actually more or less have to, because you should always adjust the builds to your needs. Take the best ideas out of it and adopt your own build. That's what build videos should be. So with this build, we don't necessarily have a lot of burst damage, however we have a ton of damage over time effects. As you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is none, but okay, around 7 more or less. So even like shield spamming Zorks or perma blockers will have issues staying alive because we have so much pressure on them. Now I also want you to understand that this build is very strong in 1v1s. You can use it in battlegrounds, you can use it in Cyrodiil, you can use it in duels. However, if you fight alone against several enemies, it might get quite tricky. You might run into sustain issues, you might have problems with enough healing and all that kind of stuff. A good player will probably manage, but it's kinda difficult. It's really strong in 1v1, it's not that strong against several enemies. However, that changes. When you are in a group, you have a healer with you, you have another dude with you, and you don't necessarily always get attacked as first player. Then it's again really strong, because you can pressure an enemy really hard. Obviously, like against Templars, when it like Blood Craze, Poison Injection, they can purge that stuff, but all the other dots are not really purgeable. So what are we running? We are running heavy armor, just to show you the stats. We have pretty nice resistance, weapon crit, weapon damage is not that high but doesn't matter. Stamina recovery is pretty high for a heavy armor build, even though we are using the Warrior Mundus Stone, and we have really nice stats. In Cyrodiil or Battlegrounds you will have more health as well, because I'm in Royal K at the moment, so I don't get the Battle Spirit buff. Do you need the Warrior? Not necessarily. Now if you run into sustain issues, you can run the Serpent Mundus here, or you can run Dark Deal. If I run Dark Deal, then I don't need the Serpent Mundus. But if I don't run Dark Deal, I actually think the Serpent Mundus is nice. We also sustain a lot through heavy attacks. Dual wield heavy attacks are really fast. And you know, heavy attacks restore resources. So this is a really important point. You need to do heavy attacks. They really deal a lot of damage and you regain stuff. And they also procure enchantments and all that kind of stuff. Now, like I said, Serpent is another good option. Race, I recommend being a red guard because of this, and you just get more max stem and stem recovery. An orc is also a really nice option. Imperial also works, Argonian also works, but I think for me on the top, red guard, second place orc. Also don't forget this one, this is very important. Now in terms of gear, like I said, we have a 5-2 setup, so we have 3 bone pirate jewelry, all weapon damage, glyphs, then boots and belt. I recommend running impenetrable on all the small pieces and infused on the big ones. You can run 7 impen, but I think it's overkill. You can also run like well fitted on the small pieces if you want, but impenetrable is always nice. I just don't have impen on shoulder and boots because I don't have the impenetrable pieces. Now in terms of other gear, like because we use the Bone Pirate set, obviously we have to run the Dubious Cameron Throne. This is a really nice drink. You get stem rec, max stem and health. Potions, you can run those if you have a healer with you, because you get more crit and weapon damage. Other than that, you could run either those here to get more crit and CC immunity. Now I see a lot of players, especially newer players, they just run basic pots. And it really puts you at a disadvantage. Because CC immunity pots are really freaking strong. You cannot get interrupted for 16 seconds. That's insane. Then you also can use those with the speed buff if you want. Or just stamina, health and CC immunity. And other stuff. There's a lot of options. We already do get the brutality buff, so the weapon damage buff, through critical surge. So you don't necessarily need that. Just as information. Now, that being said, let's move on. I run Gladiator Cuirass, like the Quartz Gladiator, as a second set. You can swap this out, you don't need it. Like, I just like to experiment with this set a little bit, because 1800 weapon damage is a lot. And you know, heavy and light attacks scale a lot better the more weapon damage you have. So they hit really hard, and we do a lot of heavy attacks. And basically, when an enemy is under 25% health, they are dead, more or less. If you have a few dots on them and you can hit them with the heavy attack. Now, there is alternative sets. I listed a few on my website, so go check it out if you want. In terms of weapons, I have an axe and a dagger. You can also run 2 daggers. Why do I run an axe? It's because of the dual wield perk, twin blade and blunt. Each axe gives your melee attacks an 8% chance to bleed enemies for 10k physical damage over 6 seconds. Procs a lot. Now, second one is a dagger. In terms of traits, infused poison enchant is actually really nice. Like, it procs every 2 seconds more or less, and it deals a ton of damage. So that's another kind of damage or time effect. Then second one, you can run sharp and you can run precise. It doesn't really matter that much. And enchantment, you could run a disease enchantment, or you just can run like this damage undead enchantment, because a lot of enemies are vampires, because vampires are very strong at the moment. Last thing, I run a maelstrom bow. The reason why, because I run Endless Hail on the back bar, and it hits really hard with this. You don't necessarily need the Maelstrom bow. You can just run another bow, a random bow, or like a 4-piece Quartz Gladiator and all that kind of stuff. I also want you to know that we have 2 medium pieces here. So this needs to be heavy armor, this needs to be heavy, heavy, heavy and heavy. So we run a 5 heavy, 2 medium setup. Vulcan is the last set. It's another damage over time effect, more or less. This really kills off a lot of people, trust me. It's still the most overpowered proc set. You cannot dodge it. And like, it hits really hard, even on stamina setups. So we have so many dots, it procs basically on cooldown. It's really strong, trust me. You need this. That's it about the gear setup. I would just quickly jump through the champion points. So I have like 51, 8, 49, 49. You want points in here to get more resources back from heavy attacks. 40, 23, 43 to get more healing received. 20, 11, 11, 46, 49, 40. So we get a lot of damage because we have here damage over time, more penetration, more physical damage and some extra crit. And our heavy attacks will do more damage and we do more damage against shields. So it's very well balanced. 34, 49, 26, 37, 37 and 37 here. So we get again more healing. Now again, in no CP they are obviously not active. And again, you can change around the champion points to your liking. This is just my suggested setup, the one I run. Now in terms of gear, in terms of skills. Deadly Cloak, this is more or less a must-have. It deals insane amount of damage and it gives you 25% damage AoE reduction. So enemies running blockade or destruction ultimates, it doesn't matter. You have 25% damage mitigation against that stuff. No problem. This is really nice. Critical Surge, one of basically our main heal. So while it's active, every crit strike heals you for 3.3k. Because you have so many dots, you will get crits, even if your weapon crit is really low. Because we run so much like different damage over time effects. Bloodthirst. Now this is another nice ability which we use from time to time if you don't have to reapply dots. It heals you, that's why I chose to run Bloodthirst. It's definitely the better more for PvP. Blood Craze, same thing here, it heals you while it's on the enemy. It doesn't sound like it's healing you for a lot, but if this has a small heal, this a small heal, and this also has a small heal, it will add up and give you pretty decent healing. Now Dark Deal, you see I don't have Vigor on my bars. Dark Deal heals for a lot, you see 8.8k, and sure it gets cut in half because of Battle Spirit, but that's still a lot. And it costs Magicka, we have a lot of Magicka, so we can use this. So it gives us stamina and health back. It's really nice. If you think, oh, I have enough sustain, then run Vigor, no problem. You can do this. I like to swap around depending on the situation. Like when I do have a healer with me, I like to run Dark Deal. If I'm alone, I like to have Vigor. Dawnbreaker of Smithing. Now this is a very essential ultimate to the build. Because we are a stem Sorc, it only costs 107 ultimate points. It's very cheap. And it deals a lot of damage and it knocks down the enemy. So it's a really nice CC ability. And if you have all the dots running and you hit him with Dawnbreaker, it will hurt. Backbar, Endless Hail. Now again, this is very situational. You do see, it's only a small area. Now if there is people moving around a lot, you're gonna have trouble keep hitting enemies with it. But you need to learn to try to keep your enemies in Endless Hail when you fight them. It's just a matter of practice. Rearming Trap, same thing. If there's Endless Hail down here, you have the trap there, he gets stuck in it. He either stays there or he needs to dodge roll out. So no matter what he does, it will cost him a lot of stamina. And it also deals a ton of damage. Plus we get the minor force, so we get more critical damage done. Poison Injection, this is one of your strongest dots. If the enemy basically drops below 40-50%, this will hit really hard. Draining Shot, now here, this is a very strong ability. First off, it heals a lot and it knocks the enemy back. And it takes a while till the enemy can break free because they are in the air and they get knocked down and they need to break free. So if you have Deadly Cloak on, you have Blood Craze on the enemy, you have Poison Injection on the enemy, maybe he sends in a Hurricane, and you hit him with this, it's gonna hurt and his health will drop a ton, trust me. And he will have really big troubles getting back to full health because we will keep pressuring him with either Bloodthirst or start reapplying the dots and all that kind of stuff. Then here, you could use a third bar with card drops and that kind of stuff if you want. You could also run the Bow Ultimate. Now this is really strong, so another trick what you can do is you can dot the enemy up, use Ballista, and you see like this hits really hard, and then use Draining Shock. by the time he can break free, he's most likely dead. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, this combo is kinda underrated. Put the dots up, Ballista and then Draining Shock, and he's RIP, more or less. Unless he has a healing body with him or something like that. So I hope this kind of helped a little bit, understanding what you can do with this build, what it's supposed to do, and how you should play with it. If you have any questions, ask me in the comment section below. Don't forget to subscribe. Thank you for watching and have a nice day. Cheers.